The Choice, Chapter 5. On the shores of Lake Compounce, at the Old Men's Barbecue event, our treasure hunter, Nathan Burge, fishes for his fourth and final clue. He holds up an object, a yellow scarf, for all the men in the room to see, and asks, "Who remembers this?" A man stands up in the back. "I do, Mr. Burge. I have a story about a yellow cloth like the one you're holding." "Well, thank you, sir. Here we have, gentlemen, a man with a very special remembrance. Please, sir, share with us the name your mother gave you and the number of years since that happy event." "Certainly, Mr. Burge. My name is William, sir, and I am 77 years young." "Well, William, I would be quite indebted to you if you could enlighten me with your memory of this object and the circumstances of your familiarity with it. But let us not delay the gentlemen in this room with our selfish pursuit. Please, join me outside on the porch, and for the rest of you, young men, thank you for your time and enjoy your evening." Nathan and William exit the hall and seat themselves on the porch of Casino Hall, overlooking the pristine and serene Lake Compounce. It was here, in the middle of this same lake, on a fishing boat with Alfonso Barnes, when Nathan first received his life's mission, his quest. How fitting, then, that he returns to it for what he feels so strongly now to be its final chapter. "Tell me your story, William. I'm interested in anything and everything you might recollect. Spare no details." "I'll do my best, Mr. Burge. Well, to begin, I was born here in Bristol, on Chippens Hill. I grew up the son of a weaver and learned the clothing business by trade, so I know that a yellow silk cloth like yours is quite expensive. My father used luxury cloths to make fancy dresses for special occasions, like weddings. He once made a full-length dress in green silk, and he sold it for good money. So you can imagine my surprise one day when a man comes to me with a box, a wooden box wrapped in shiny yellow silk, top quality fabric. I remember it well because usually boxes are wrapped in burlap cloth, cheap stuff. There must have been something very special inside if it was wrapped in fancy yellow silk. He said there was a family heirloom inside that belonged to someone who is gone now, and he couldn't keep it. He never unwrapped the box, so I never saw what was inside." "What were the dimensions of the box? How big was it?" "It was about the length of my arm from thumb to shoulder, half as wide." "And what did he ask you to do with the box, William?" "The man asked me to help him find a safe place to hide it. He wanted a place, he said, where no one dared to look for it." "And why you, William? Why did he come to you?" "I asked him the same question. He said he found me on the recommendation of a friend, as mine was a name that could be trusted to help him." "And the mystery of the whole matter didn't disturb you?" "Well, sir, besides being in the clothing business, I also worked in a clock shop, and later as the sexton at the cemetery. So I've come across lots of people in my life with secrets and strange requests. He just seemed like a man trying to settle his affairs." "Who was the man?" "He said his name was Lumen. He didn't mention his last name, or where he was from." "And when did Lumen approach you with this box? How many years ago? 10, 20? "Well, no, sir, this happened just last year." "Last year? So he's still alive, this Lumen?" "God willing." "Did anyone else come looking for the box after he hid it?" "Not to my knowledge, Mr. Burge." "Well, William, as you might imagine, there's only one question that remains, the most important one. Where did you help Lumen hide his box?" "I wish I could tell you, Mr. Burge, but I'm afraid I don't really know. I showed him a place that I thought was proper, and then afterwards, he took the box and walked off alone. It was a big place, and I never saw exactly where he placed it. Looking there, without knowing the exact spot, is like trying to find a needle in 10 bushels of hay. A wild goose chase, for sure. Tell me that place, William, and I'll chase that goose. And so there, on the porch of the Grand Casino at Lake Compounds, Nathan receives the final piece of his puzzle. 3 clues preceded this moment: the rock from his father, the prize from the expo, and the story from Welsh. Each of these clues formed cobblestones on the path that now leads Nathan to the terminus of his quest, to a locked door, behind which rests the secrets that his father kept from him. Lumen's yellow box is the 4th clue, and it is the key to unlock that door. His mission is nearing its end. Nathan's speech at the old men's barbecue exposes his intentions to gather information about Bristol's past. It draws unwanted attention to his secret quest. But now, in his old age and in poor health, Nathan is desperate. He is willing to overextend himself, open himself to the menace of public scrutiny, in the hopes of putting together the final pieces of the puzzle he seeks to solve. Nathan's speech sparks more than just curiosity from the community. It lights literal fires against him. 3 suspicious fires strike the N.L. Burge & Sons factory in the months after his theatrics at Lake Compounds. 1 factory fire is accidental, a 2nd, gross carelessness, but a 3rd confirms the trend. Nathan is being targeted. In the latest instance, a stock of cotton in a carding room takes fire. It explodes in a miniature ball of flames. The blaze is quickly extinguished, and a charred match head planted inside a cotton bundle is discovered as its source. Sabotage. 2 men are suspected. 1 is discharged and the other placed under surveillance. The true culprit, or culprits, is unknown, but the message is clear. Nathan's chief rival, Welsh, may be dead, but there are rivals who remain. A secret society of them. The factory fires illuminate the existence of others who continue Welsh's incendiary exploits, who intercede against Nathan in his quest. New rivals for old men. The old men's barbecue is a celebration of old age, but it is also a high watermark for the men who attend, a sign that a generation of farmers and clockmakers who remember the Westwoods are passing away, and a new generation of manufacturers and bankers are taking hold of the urban town of Bristol that grew out of that wilderness. Nathan Burge is a famous figure in the community, yet he is not recognized by everyone. This social phenomenon signals a monumental cultural shift. Bristol's population hits a new peak, and now the human relationships within its diverse communities face new challenges, higher barriers, and greater suspicions. Bristol is bigger than ever before. So big that it is now impossible to understand what is happening in the community from a casual conversation in the tavern, post office, or church gathering. These trusted spaces are superseded by something entirely more powerful and more untrustworthy: the newspaper. The Bristol Press, Bristol Herald, and other weekly newspapers now command the town's attention. They define what happens, confer importance upon this event or another, turn villains into hometown heroes, or vice versa. And the leash to these new powers of persuasion is held by a new class of newspapermen and the investors who back them or bribe them. Bristol's new generation of gentlemen respect elder citizens like Burge, but they do not fear them. And they certainly do not obey their old chivalrous customs or the invisible boundaries that used to discourage reckless attacks against another man's honor, reputation, or well-earned patriarchal privileges. Men like Welsh and Burge would violate civic virtues, but these wayward acts would always be in private. In public, they exuded only politeness and charity. When the occasion demanded it, they waged secret and proxy wars. Yet these conflicts rarely spooked the locals. But the new rising crop of Bristol's titans makes no such avoidances. These are men who are happy to compete in the street, men who fight their battles in public and in print. And no one represents this new ethic of public confrontation more than our latest hero, or maybe our newest villain, Albert Rockwell. One crisp November morning, on the day of Thanksgiving holiday, in fact, Rockwell commits a crime that is entirely anathema to the spirit of this holiday of harmony. Inside the downtown office of the Bristol Herald newspaper, Rockwell arrives for an interview with a gumshoe reporter named Ralph Raymond. Mr. Rockwell, thank you for coming. Please have a seat. I'd like to take your statement in response to my article recently published about your new departure. Let me stop you right there, Mr. Haymound, is it? Raymond. Might as well be Liarmond for the type of fob and flam you are smearing about me in your dish rag of a newspaper. Mr. Rockwell, your displeasure is understandable, but as my article truthfully states, there is concern about the new departure's company affairs and questions about the status of its operating funds. Workers report only a few departments of the factory are running, and several secret meetings of the board of directors have been held. There's also a rumor of an independent accountant who was conveniently called back home to Chicago before he completed his examination of your company's books. The Bristol Herald has a civic duty to investigate such matters, and rest assured not a single word is printed unless it's backed by a credible source. Who is your source? I demand to know. As a reporter, I cannot violate a confidence, sir. Who is it? I have a right to know who is defaming my company. You have no such right, sir. You'll tell me, right here, sitting man to man, or you'll tell me down on the floor like a dog. Enraged, like a boiling pot of water blowing its top, Rockwell jumps to his feet and pulls a long leather strap from the pocket of his suit jacket. Mrs. Harley, call the police. I'm being attacked. Tell me who it is, you scallywag. Rockwell and Raymond dance around the newspaperman's desk in a violent game of merry-go-round for 10 tense minutes until Chief Howard Arms, Bristol's stocky chief of police, is summoned to the scuffle. The chief is greeted by the comical sight of a corporate pit boss, Albert Rockwell, chasing a distressed and unsubmissive reporter, Ralph Raymond. Chief, help! Rockwell is viciously assaulting me. Mr. Rockwell, can you please get on with your day and leave this man in peace? I prefer to give him the buckle end of this strap. Ah, there, Chief! You saw it! You are my witness! Enough! Chief Arms intervenes and tugs Rockwell out of the office. Chief, I demand that you arrest this man. I will be pressing charges. If I arrested every man committing fisticuffs in this town, there'd be no one left on the street to buy your papers, Mr. Raymond. Today's Thanksgiving, gentlemen. You should be home, eating turkeys, not acting like them. But no sooner does Arms issue his cease and desist order and walk out than he hears Mr. Rockwell's renewed assault on Raymond and him stumble over a chair onto the floor. Mr. Rockwell, please, lighten up a little. Lighten up, Chief. This man must be arrested. Rest assured, Mr. Raymond, that justice will be served by me and not private citizens. Register any complaint you wish with your attorney and our judge will address it. Now, Mr. Rockwell, I think you would agree with me, for the sake of your reputation and mine, that we should both leave together and go for a talk down at my office. The next knocking comes not upon a reporter's backside, but upon the door of Charles Treadway. Mr. Treadway, we have a situation. Tell me. It seems Mr. Rockwell is in urgent need of your services. What is it now? Did he already burn through the money we gave him for this month? And what's he doing working on a holiday like Thanksgiving? Mr. Rockwell is not at his company, sir. He's in jail. Jail? What for? It's unclear, sir. Mr. Sessions asks that you go down to the police station and resolve the matter. Oh boy. Shall I bring a carriage? No need. Just bring me my coat, please. I'll walk. Charles arrives at the Borough of Bristol police station and is met by Chief Arms, who escorts him inside. What happened, Chief? Albert Rockwell roughed up a reporter at the Herald office. Is that it? I'm sure it was just a misunderstanding. Well, Mr. Rockwell arrived with a trunk strap concealed in his jacket and twice used it to whip a journalist in my presence and in a room full of witnesses. So if that's what you call a misunderstanding. Land sakes. Let me speak with him. Chief Arms leads Charles past the station's cramped and stinky lockup, where a few troublemakers have, as they say, applied for a night's lodging, and onward to the back of the station, where a well-dressed Mr. Rockwell is sitting cross-legged on a wooden bench. Mr. Rockwell, Mr. Treadway is here. He pledged to escort you home and ensure you don't get up to any more funny business once you are out of my sight. The only funny business here, Mr. Arms, is the lies that those yellow dog reporters publish about me in their filthy newspapers. Just hand over the trunk strap, and I'll let you on your way. A grumpy but obedient Rockwell complies, gives up his weapon, and exits the station with Charles in tow. Albert, listen, we can't have Bristol's top men in the news for this kind of thing. Bad for business, bad for everyone. I don't need scolding from you, Charles Treadway. Coming down here to escort me when I know who it is standing behind you, whose money is really bailing me out. Don't think for a moment I don't know who is behind all this fetch talk of New Departure going bankrupt. John Sessions is trying his best to get more leverage over me. But one day, he won't have any more debt to shackle me with, and that day is coming soon. All of them Sessions hiding behind their newspapers and banks and clubs, making their private insults seem like public sentiments. A bunch of wolves hiding under sheepskins. You're angry, Mr. Rockwell. It's understandable. But I assure you, Mr. Sessions has nothing but mutual best interests in his care. Look here. At Mr. Charles Treadway, a loyal foot soldier, or a puppet. Watch your words, Mr. Rockwell. But isn't that the problem that brings us here, Charles? Words, and the truth or lack of truth behind them? We're the same, you and me, aren't we? We're both men who are, in one way or another, financed by Mr. Sessions. His money flows like little strings from his fingers and fastens itself to our limbs, moving them in whatever direction he pleases. But there's a difference. One day, I'll buy back all my company shares and cut those strings. Be free and independent. But you'll always be his agent, his lackey. You seem to forget what happened to that family business of yours, the Andrew Terry Foundry. The one your father-in-law started when he came back to Bristol, with money from, where was it again? Oh yes, the Bank of Sessions. That was your inheritance, Charles, that foundry. But what happened? When sickness struck your family, Sessions swooped in, bought up all your family's foundry business, and gave it to one of his sons. And now here you are, working for them. That's quite enough, sir. I trust you will retire for the evening, and we can meet again when you recover from your condition. I can find my way home from here, Mr. Treadway, you can bet on that. But your pathway isn't as straight as mine. One day, John Sessions will be gone, and his sons will grab the strings of his former puppets. And on that day, you will be again the horse that pulls their wagon. And you can try as you might to break that harness. But doing so comes with a price, and not one that you can pay with borrowed money. And so, on a chilly Thanksgiving day, Rockwell and Treadway part ways in symbolically divergent directions on the sidewalks of Bristol, with Charles alone carrying an ominous warning that falls upon his heart with a cold and icy impact. One of these two men will soon face a choice. It is a choice that will lead to the discovery of a most secret clock. But before that happens, we must first discover something else hidden in the forests of Fall Mountain. It is there where two women, two searchers, will discover that paper secrets formed with ink upon a page can lead you, like lines on a map, to a very real treasure. It is the year 1898, and wheels are turning in Bristol, not only in the gears of its clocks, but in new inventions on its roads. Thanks to the borough government, Bristol got sewers, police, and growth. New streets open, higher buildings go up, water and electric utilities extend in every direction. All the signs of rapid and prosperous economic advances meet the eye at every turn. The Linstead and Funk office buildings on Prospect Street ascend skywards, not one, not two, but 3 stories high. Bristol is now a 3-story town. Down on the streets below, a metal track is laid through the thoroughfares of the city, and a trolley car service is established, hauling commuters up and down a line of stops ranging from Main Street all the way out to lake compounds. Bristol's municipal growth integrates seamlessly into the expanding edges of industrial life across the rest of the country. Interconnected railway networks previously constructed to move soldiers and supplies during the Civil War now speed along Bristol's inventions to the edges of frontier markets. Stocking the shelves with made-in-Bristol products in thousands of stores across the country has never been easier or cheaper. This new and national network also means that a massive selection of manufactured products and little luxuries come back to Bristol. Hundreds of advertisements in Bristol's newspapers hail this new era of mass consumerism, and its favorite moniker, the discount sale. Home trade is the motto today, and nowhere is this more on display than the A.J. Muzzy department store on the corner of Riverside and Main Street. At Muzzy's, you find those things that some people imagined are only found in large cities. Inventories full of dry goods, carpets, wallpapers, home furnishings, and prices sure to fit the purse. Fall stock is coming direct from manufacturers, and goods are sold at rock-bottom quotations. Of all the items to buy, one stands out as the most desirable luxury, the most coveted new thing. It's called the motor wagon, the horseless carriage, or more simply, the automobile. Racing now across the hard-packed dirt streets of the borough of Bristol is this utterly amazing new means of personal transportation. Not since the four-horse quadriga chariots of the ancient Greeks has one person been able to throttle such speed and motility under their own command. 4 suspension wire wheels riding on rubber pneumatic tires and ball bearings with a hydrocarbon engine powering speeds up to 20 miles an hour. And riding in the plush bench bucket seat with her hands on the steering wheel is a fearless woman in a Victorian dress named Sylvia Manross. As she cuts her way through the horse-hoofed and leather-booted other commuters on the road, she notices another woman dressed as proper as herself. It's Florence Downs Muzzy, a friend of Sylvia's, and she's engaged in a strenuous climb up the steep sidewalk of Center Street, carrying a heavy tote of bags. "Hello, Florence. May I offer you a ride?" "Sylvia Manross. Well, look at you, darling. I heard Frederick acquired one of those fancy new motor wagons, but imagine my surprise to see you be the one driving it around town. Come up and join me, Florence. I'll show you how it drives. You can even take the wheel if you so desire." "Oh, no. I'm just happy for the ride up this dogged hill. I can't imagine trying to handle this mechanical beast with all the sticks and pedals and such. How is it you manage to keep it going straight?" "Oh, any woman can do it. I tell you, it's a lot tougher to keep a husband on track than an automobile." "Well, if you please, drop me off at the library." "To the library. Hang on." Zoom, and off they go, up the incline of Center Street with ease and oomph. Sylvia dodges around an oncoming trolley car as it descends the hill. She waves to its passengers and cuts a right turn in between 2 massive stone buildings, the twin sentinels that serve as the mythic gateway to Summer Street. On one side of the road stands Bristol's high school building, an ornate Romanesque red brick structure with 2 distinct and dominant features on its facade: a tall, jutting chimney reaching skyward, and a round turret with bay windows embedded on its front. They both give its edifice a symbolic sword and shield, as if the building was a knight of the realm kneeling in homage to a king. On the other side of the street lies the Prospect Methodist Church, a monumental granite and brownstone sanctuary in the Akron architectural style that is crowned by a gilded clock tower steeple. The construction of this colossal church was entirely funded by one man, John Humphrey Sessions. Together, these 2 mighty structures serve as the symbolic triumphal arch of Bristol's ascent. They are more than just public buildings. They are institutions, commensurate with the education and piety of Bristol's citizenry. But there's a third institution that is not yet constructed of grandiose stature and stone, but no less important. It lies inside a cozy wooden house with a peaked roof and a covered porch at the intersection of Summer and Main Streets, and it is here where Sylvia glides her automobile to a graceful stop. "Here we are, Florence, Bristol Public Library." "Whew! Well, Sylvia, that was an exhilarating experience. Thanks to you, I won't be late for my reading club." Florence is not your ordinary reading club member. Her uncle Ash, a national newspaperman who published his way across the United States from Cincinnati to Santa Fe, he gave Florence the nickname Hurricane because she blew her way through every book and every reading room in Bristol. And when she was done, she started doing the only thing a woman of her talents can do after turning every page. She starts to write pages of her own. Florence writes poetry, genealogies, historical sketches, and even dabbles in illustrations. Her works are published in the Bristol Press and read aloud in local literary societies from the Beta Reading Club to the League of American Penwomen. Here is a woman who will raise her daughter Adrian to become the most esteemed of librarians, to be a librarian at the New York City Public Library. Here is a woman who will be a founding regent of the local chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution, in honor of another famous female, Catherine Gaylord, about whom Florence will later publish a detailed account of Catherine's escape through the wilderness from the Wyoming Massacre. Here is Florence Muzzy, our hurricane historian, who walks now with a tote bag full of books into the doors of the humble Bristol Public Library. Inside, a lecture series program is already underway. 25 members of the Connecticut State Library Association are sitting in the main reading room with their attention fixed forward on Judge Epaphroditus Peck. Florence finds a chair in the back as Peck begins his address on the subject of legitimate aspirations of a village library. It's a subject that could easily be legitimate aspirations for Bristol's citizenry as well. By the term country libraries, I mean such a library as Bristol has. My advice is do not specialize in popular fiction, and on the other hand, do not cater entirely to the people of culture. Most of the books of current fiction in 10 years will be dead trash, but for the best literature, it will always be wanted. Strive for breadth of scope. Choose broad books rather than the special, and magazines of quality to attract those who are not familiar with the best literature. One field in which every village library should specialize is that of local history. All public documents of local character, town reports, church manuals, in short, everything connected with the town should be collected for the needs of the future historian. The public library should be democratic, not an apostle to the Gentiles, not overly punctilious about decorum, and should serve the artistic needs of the town by providing works of art, either to be used in the schools or on its own walls. No aspiration could be too high to be legitimate, but it may be too high to be attained. When his speech ends, Peck speeds off to his next engagement. The librarians linger for chit-chat, while Florence visits the desk of the chief librarian. Good day, Miss Muzzy. Did you enjoy the lecture? I did, an aspiring articulation of what I hope our library will become. Indeed. And how goes your latest historical piece? A work in progress, as always. I have a long list of books to investigate today, so please excuse me if I peruse more than my share of your shelves. Feel free to browse anything you like. I can also give you an extra 2 books above your checkout limit, just between us. Bristol Library's reading room is purposefully designed to keep all the books within the watchful eyes of the librarian, who sits in a commanding location in the center of the room. As defender of the library's treasure trove of books, a vigilant librarian's chief duty is to post a constant guard against the rippers of pages, the benders of bindings, the scribblers in the margins, and the famous quotation underliners. Yet a frequent and respected patron like Florence is given a free pass from such suspicions. As the active surveillance of the librarian's spotlight passes over her, Florence takes full advantage of her presumed innocence. She seats herself at a table on the far end of the room and begins to pull a series of books from various shelves, which she stacks in her workspace to form a little wall of privacy. She selects an old, leather-bound book titled A Report on the Geological Survey of Connecticut by Charles Upton Shepherd, published 1837. Then she retrieves a small notebook from her pocket and unfolds it flat on the table next to the book. Written on the left page of her notebook is a series of numbers: 29-12, 41-29, 45-20, 67-31, 143-37, 165-36, 83-3. Florence whips out a pencil. Using the numbers as a reference, she searches the pages of the leather book for corresponding connections. A page, then a line, then a word which she writes down next to its reference number. It's a secret mode of communication called a book cipher. 2 parties choose a private key. in this case, a specific book that might be found in any public library. Then they share a separate list of number references that correspond to words in that chosen book. If anyone outside of the trusted parties discovers the numbers, they are useless without knowledge of and access to the book chosen as their key. And in this way, Florence Muzzy secretly decodes a very private message in the middle of a very public library. As soon as she finishes, Florence snaps closed her notebook, reshelves her wall of books, and strolls out of the library. Across town at the North Side Hotel, located on the lively corner of Federal and North Streets, another distinguished female citizen swings through its double doors. Mary O'Brien, the proprietor of the most popular boarding house and saloon in Forestville, seats herself in the main dining room at a table in the back. The hotel owner, an elderly Marvin Gaylord, ambles over to welcome her. "Mrs. O'Brien, I assume you aren't calling upon us today for a drink, as our beverage prices are a lot higher here than at your establishment. But I do believe your cook serves a better pigeon pie than mine, so please make it my lunch order." "Soon he'll be your cook, isn't that right? Here I go hanging up my hat and selling this old hotel, and imagine my surprise to find you, Mary, as the highest bidder. Who's fronting you the cash for that bid, Mary? Passing the hat among your Irish patrons would never amass a sum like that, so you must have a very rich backer. Tell me, come on, don't be a bugbear. I've been meaning to expand my business into downtown, and Marvin, you know well as I that buying you out is a whole lot cheaper than getting a new liquor license from Town Hall. Thanks to those prohibitionists, like Reverend Riggs, and all their legal remonstrances, the price of opening a new bar room in Bristol is enough to drive you straight out of the business." "Oh, I know. So why don't you open Bristol's first prohibitionist hotel? Marvin, you show me a hotel without a bar room, and I'll show you full vacancy." "Well, as I told your agent, I'm happy to sell, as long as you keep my name above the door." "It'll always be Marvin's Northside Hotel. This place is a classic. I won't change a thing, except for the dessert menu." As Marvin exits, Mary's lunch date arrives. It's Florence Muzzy, straight from the library. "Florence, tell me you cracked it." "Like an egg. It was easy once you know the name of the book." "Ah, what luck. So go on, what does it say?" "Here, keep it close." Florence opens her notebook and shows Mary the page with the book cipher decoded. There are 7 words written down. Scent, charter, 2, rocks, house, Bristol, camp. "So, Florence, what do you make of it?" "Well, it reminds me of the charter oak tree, you know? The old story about colonists hiding the Connecticut state charter in an oak tree. Are you looking for some kind of paper charter?" "That I do not know." "So what do you know, Mary? Every little detail helps us solve this puzzle. Start from the beginning." "Well, Florence, it's like this. I've been asking the bank for a loan to expand my business, but they don't want to loan to a woman, especially an Irish woman. So then my banker calls me in, and he gives me an envelope from a private investor who wishes to remain anonymous. Inside the envelope is a promissory note for a big line of credit, but with one condition, that I solve a puzzle and recover whatever property it refers to. It's a funny way to invest in someone, right? But the bigwigs around here have pulled stranger tricks, so I figure it's a test to see if I can be trusted. At the bottom of the note are the numbers and the name of the book. I tried my hand at it, but connecting the two is beyond my means. That's when I thought to call you, since you chair the reading club. I'm deeply grateful for your assistance, you being so talented with books and writing and all. Look, if we can solve this puzzle, Florence, I know it's just entertainment for you, but this is a big opportunity for me. It's more than just fun for me too, Mary. Come on. An adventure like this, it's sure to be something to write about." "Oh, so that's why you're doing it, to turn my situation into a dime novel?" "A bestseller. But don't worry, I'll change all the names so no one gets in trouble." "Well, before that, Florence, we need to find it, this charter. It's the starting point to understand the rest of the riddle. What kind of charter do you think it refers to? Our town charter? A charter for a club? You know, Mary, I do remember accompanying my husband to one of his Board of Trade meetings, and the directors were very adamant to stress to its members that private charters can be confided to the secretary with absolute secrecy, and special committees will be appointed to make investigations. It could be a business charter, but for what business? Must be a secret business if they're sending encoded messages and hiding their documents around town. And what do you make of the rest of it? 2 Rocks, House, Bristol Camp. Florence ponders the phrase. Then, Mary, do you remember the story of the tramp who dressed all in leather and wandered the hills around Bristol? The Leather Man. They say he used to camp under big boulders, and they called it his rock house. The Leather Man, yes, I know the story. When he came to Bristol, he camped up on Fall Mountain, a place not too far away from downtown, and a perfect spot to hide something. But that's a big search area. Which is why the other words matter. 2 Rocks, Bristol Camp. It indicates the specific campsite in Bristol. The one with 2 big boulders, maybe, close together. Brilliant, Florence. We cracked it. Shall we take a little walk in the woods? Get your hiking boots, Mary. We can go first thing in the morning. The rays of the rising sun scatter throughout the leafy canopies of Fall Mountain, as Florence Muzzy leads her friend Mary through the winding westwoods to the rock house of the Leather Man. Come on, Mary, I think it's over here. What makes you so sure? Well, we're following the trail described in this old newspaper article, titled Rambles on Old Trails, the Old Leatherman's Homes on Lake Compounds. It says here in the article that there are 3 caves where the Leatherman camped. Ah, look, see, right there, there's one. Can't miss it. It's a giant rock. But it's only 1 big boulder, not 2. It's also very close to the road, so let's say this is not the best hiding spot. Okay, that's a rock, but that's not a rock house. So what's next? Right. According to the article, we should go southward along the mountainside, overlooking East Bristol from the old iron mine, where there is sharp faults in the ledges and little ravines covered with a second growth of wood. Go the distance of a mile to a sudden upheaval 75 feet high at the base of the mountain that forms a deep gorge, 100 feet wide, nearly as deep. Then, in the middle of this rocky gorge, rises a steep and ragged bluff, 50 feet high, composed of immense stones in a pile as if hurled from the cliffs above by ancient titans. On the top of this ridge is an occasional towering projection of granite, as if keeping sentry of the secrets of this weird glen defying the tempest for ages. Florence, this sounds spooky. And then? Here we go, the final part. At the entrance of the lonely spot, find a fragment of a cliff overhanging a small, rude cavern, facing toward the mountain, and secluded from the storms in nearly every direction. This is the cave of the old Leatherman. And so there goes our searchers, Florence and Mary. Through the eastern ridges of Fall Mountain, inside the green velvet grooves of its grottos and glens, carved by some mighty convulsion of nature hundreds of thousands of years ago, a climactic happening whose high water marks, like geological fingerprints, are traced in jagged striations etched into its cliffs and boulders by an ancient sea of ice, by the glacier. And it is here where our searchers find the Leatherman's rock house. To be continued in the next chapter of The Choice.